I guess it's hard to follow an act like that. Thanks, Jeff, especially with those shoes. So just to get started, I know Jeff introduced us. Just so everybody had a face with a name, because they told us we were supposed to take our name badges off because they kind of reflect and didn't want to blind anybody today. So again, Jason Wingo. To my left, Ashley Nairn and Andre Cavallero. Jeff basically did the quick introductions. We've got the bio page up there if anybody wants to read it, but figured we wouldn't bore you with the details. We'd just jump right in. So a little bit about who we are. So for those of you that might never have heard of BB&T, we're basically in the banking and financial services sector. We're located down out of Winston, North Carolina. A little bit about the company profile. So we're a large banking financial services holding company. We've got approximately $226 billion under asset as of December 2018. As it relates to the industry or how we serve our customers, so we run a large range of financial services offerings, running the gamut from retail and commercial banking through mortgages, insurance, and asset and wealth management. We currently operate in over 2,000 retail branches, and we serve approximately 23 million customers in more than 15 states, including Washington, D.C., and our footprint is predominantly southeast. And then basically what brought us here today, and appreciate the opportunity today. So in 2017, BB&T was under regulatory enforcement order. That regulatory enforcement order from the FDIC came in and cited a number of weaknesses, deficiencies, and issues with the bank in large, but predominantly within the financial crimes programs that Ashley and myself work in to support. There were two issues that really came to bear that really lent itself to us considering a technology like Pitney Bowes Spectrum. Those two issues that the regulators cited were really around strengthening our compliance and risk management program as it relates to the BSA/AM requirements, in addition to improving and expanding upon coming up with a more robust 360-degree view of our client. And especially in terms of monitoring and reporting the suspicious activity within the anti-money laundering space. The reason that both of these issues were cited and the core underpinnings for why the regulators and the exam bodies had an issue with this is because at the time the enforcement actions were actually given to BB&T, we were using really outdated technology, and the technology and the solutions that we were using were more account-focused as opposed to customer-focused. Predominantly what this is meaning is the solutions we had in place, if Jason Wingo had a checking account, then our solutions would look at Jason Wingo and his checking account in totality as the account-centric, as opposed to other relationships or other accounts I might hold at BB&T, like if I also had a savings account, a mortgage, or a brokerage account, instead of looking at Jason Wingo more holistically as the customer and all the relationships I had at BB&T. The reason that, and I'm sure you guys have probably talked about 360-degree view, single view of client, the reason this is really important and the challenges that this poses to banks like ours is without being able to have that holistic view or that single view of client, it really starts to put the impetus on the end users and the frontline business people to basically make all those relationships and drive home how all those relationships work together when you're trying to make an ultimate determination on suspicious activity. And it really adds a lot of complexity and a lot of inaccuracies when you basically rely on a human to understand that, oh, well, I got this information on Jason on his checking account, but I didn't know that he had the savings account or I didn't know he had the mortgage account. And that's really what we look to leverage and start to use more effectively at the bank with the Spectrum technology, is starting to help us build upon that 360-degree view and actually drive a lot of efficiencies into our end user process and our investigations that come out of the back end of this for reporting suspicious activity. And the reason that a lot of this is really important is because the regulatory enforcement order, like the one BB&T was under, really impedes the ability of an organization to basically expand into new markets, offer new products to our clients, as well as precludes us from basically going forward with any mergers, acquisitions, or any new business like that. until we've been able to demonstrate to regulators in the issuing bodies for that consent order that we've successfully been able to implement or deploy whatever the solutions or the technologies were that allow us to basically address the issues that were raised in those enforcement orders. With that being said, I'm going to actually turn it over real quick to Ashley to kind of walk everybody through the solution and the work we've been doing for the last 18 to 24 months.
Good morning. So Jason gave a lot of information on the consent order and the regulatory enforcement actions that we were under. And right, wrong, or indifferent, good, bad, or ugly, those things gave us a really big stick to carry around. We had an opportunity that we had never had before, at least in my 13 or 14 years of experience at BB&T, to be able to go and seek new technologies and do new things and be innovative in a way that we've never been able to do before, quite simply because we always had a perception of a good program, and good programs don't always get the fundings for things that need to be done. On top of the regulatory orders that we had in place, we also have an executive leadership team that understands what's going on. These guys and ladies want to have a best-in-class financial crimes program. They understand that we have a civic and social responsibility to preclude financial crimes from occurring at BB&T, to stop the perpetuation of financial crimes at our bank if we can. So not only did the consent order provide pressure for this, but the mission that our executive leadership teams gave as well were driving forces and driving factors in us selecting the Pitney application, the Spectrum application. So we obviously had scrutiny from the examiners. We have timelines from the examiners that we had to meet, and we had the evidence that we were progressing down a path of a continuum that they would be satisfied with. And we had the mission that, passed down from our executive leadership. So how did we do this? What did we do with Spectrum to make it a solution that was satisfactory in the end and make it a success story? We started with our transaction monitoring application. So as Jason said, suspicious activity reporting, it can be identified in a number of ways, but at BB&T, one of our dated technologies was our transaction monitoring solution to identify suspicious activity. We brought the Spectrum tool in, and the first thing we did was we unwound our ETL logic, our ETL code. It was mainframe-based code. It was over 14 years old. Some of the people that wrote that code have retired from BB&T, so they're long gone. It was quite a sad situation once we unwound it and saw the underlyings of what we had going on. So once we unwound that code, we saw the ability, or we saw a situation where we had more than 20 decentralized repositories that this ETL code was extracting data from. So we used the Spectrum solution as an orchestration layer, as an integration layer, to bring those data into a centralized repository or a centralized warehouse type repository that would give us what we ultimately found to be a very granular view of our data, and gave us the ability at that point to be able to perform an analysis like we've never been able to do before. It gave us an ability to remap transaction types and transaction codes, which ultimately gave us the ability to create new scenarios and monitor new types of transactions and topologies for suspicious activity. So those things in and of itself, through the Pitney Bowes dynamic jobs, through the process flows and the flexibility that Spectrum allows the end user, the customers to leverage, it gave us a very robust tool to be able to unwind what we had, the legacy solution, and evidence to our examiners and our executive leadership team that we had a new product that was not only current and up to date, but was also scalable for the future. And those things were paramount to the success of an implementation that most people probably didn't see coming, but Jason can attest, we had 5 strategic projects running in concurrence. And through those 5 strategic projects, we were able to implement Pitney Bowes Spectrum along with our transaction monitoring application by the end of December 2018. Less than 6 months worth of work, which I think is unheard of, at least at BB&T and maybe in many of the spaces that you guys are accustomed to seeing. So what made us successful in that? To accomplish what we did without the partnership from the two groups, Ernst & Young specifically gave us a different avenue to be able to accomplish something that BB&T had never seen before. Specifically, these guys had an expertise from other implementations that they were able to bring into BB&T and help us learn along the way. And they were able to act as an augmented staff for us so that our resources, our BB&T resources, could focus on the other 4 strategic projects that were running in parallel. So we really relied on that relationship and that opportunity to engage this team and their knowledge and their availability to move us along. We talked about 14-year-old code. We talked about more than 20 resources. We also had technology and infrastructure that was over a decade old. And at times, that's quite embarrassing. So what it did, what this gave us was an opportunity, this avenue was an opportunity for us to put in place new infrastructure as we put in the Spectrum and the Pitney Bowes applications. We were able to build out 6 to 8 environments. We put in an analytics, a sandbox, a development, UAT, SIT, production, disaster recovery. We were able to put in many environments, which gave us an opportunity to create a semi-agile approach. We didn't adopt a full agile project management approach, but it was semi-agile. It was iterative. It did give us an opportunity to push code through the different environments that we had in a way with production data, with the right controls in place that would allow us the best opportunity to succeed in the end. So as we talk about the solution and what we implemented and what made it successful, we're excited about that. And Jason and I continue to be excited. And I think what we're excited about the most is not only what we accomplished last year, but what we look to accomplish with more of the Spectrum solution in the year coming and the days following. And I think that's what Andre will talk a little bit about now.
Great. So thank you, Ashley. And as you guys can see, we had like a pretty busy 18-24 month. We did a lot. And before I go through the next steps here, I'd like to highlight a couple of points. So we did everything. It wasn't easy. I mean, night calls, weekends as a normal implementation, but without the sponsorship and guidance from these 2 guys, it would be impossible. Also, the support of 24/7 from the PB guys and the hard work from my team also, I mean, was amazing what we've been achieved on the end of last year in December. So, but it's still a lot. So we are not there yet. So we have more things to do. So we're going to have another busy year. And I have a couple of elements here that we are like producing. As we speak here, we have the team working. And I'm sure we're going to have another busy year. So as part of the program, we're going to keep enriching the data that is flowing through this process, basically the transactional and contextual information using the PB technology to enrich like addresses, parse information, providing better data to the monitoring process, and also at the end for the investigations. We're going to deploy the business history model, basically the user interface to handle exceptions and anomalies. We currently do that via like logs and files. Now we're going to make it easier for the users. We're going to keep improving the process, including new line of business. I mean, we can do not only including new line of business, but also improving and enhancing the existing workflows so we can do better. Next one is we are implementing the visualization, reportings, and metrics on top of the graph database that we have implemented, providing additional information for the management. And all these topics here with the main objective of providing a better like customer view, 360 customer view, not only from the data flow perspective, providing better information